And CEO X-Ray Farms Consulting, African farmer Mogaji, joins us now. Thank you for joining us and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Yes. So, 2020 was full of challenges. And we're here now, 2021. What have we learned from 2020 regarding the Agric sector?
What we learned was primarily that we need to focus on value chain and not production. The primary sector where it's production. We learned the lesson that the value chain is very crucial and that any bottleneck across the value chain would actually make all investments and efforts at the primary level futile.
Yeah. Okay, now we've seen just before Christmas, the government announced the reopening of borders, but then some farmers kicked against it. They were like, look, what you have just done is going to make nonsense of some of the things we have achieved in the Agric sector. Are you one of those, that think we shouldn't have even opened that border?
Well, I think it's ignorance to think that the borders will be shut forever. And the challenge I see mostly in Nigeria is you find investors and new players come into the sector basically because of one policy. One policy is not enough to take a decision on a lifetime investment. So you need to look at it round. I always say this, around Africa, not only Nigeria, policies somersault. We need policies change. There's what I call the dynamics of politics, which shoots in 2 years before election, and the pyramid of politics, which shoots in the year before election. All this influences policies. So if they shut the borders and you now take a major investment decision without looking at where should you play, many people go into the primary production where they don't need to play, invest heavily there as against other value chains. And so when they now open the border, people begin to shout. And meanwhile, it was a mismatch of investment. The borders cannot be shut forever. West Africa depends on Nigeria, and many businesses depend on West Africa. So I think it's the investors' mistake flowing on the policy and not also paying attention to benefits of hindsight. What has happened before?
Investors rushed in due to the border closure.
They rushed in due to the border closure without paying attention to mapping 5 years from now, will I still be here?
That brings us back to what you talked about, value chain.
Value chain.
The lesson there, to be learned. Because one question one would ask again is, while the borders were closed, how significant or what did we even achieve? Did we really achieve the purpose for which the borders were shut in the first place?
My honest opinion is I don't think we achieved the purpose. We achieved some, but not all. The system and infrastructures that was required, we didn't put it in place. We shut it and it triggered artificial interest, artificial opportunity. It triggered a potential opportunity, but we did not position to harness the opportunity. The borders, now that the borders have been opened, what has been done? Customs. Do they have a better monitoring system? Are they using drones now? All this is not in place. We're not hearing about them. So if they will still be smuggling, these things were coming in. I run projects in 2 border points. And these things are still coming in. Foreign rice is still in the country. Everything is still in the country. So opening the borders without telling us, we have better monitoring system, helicopters are moving around. We don't have all those. So it will just go back to normal. We are all creatures of habit. We reverse to what we want. And people, and I mentioned rice. What I've not heard about rice, because rice was one of the major reasons, apart from smuggling of arms, that they shut the borders. So now we're still focusing on produce. Where we've not focused on what does the customer want. What do you want? We want rice, like the caterers who use this in bulk, they still don't want to use local rice because they use more ingredients. I cook and I tested all this, and you use more ingredients, meaning higher cost for them. So we should focus really on, can we get quality? What the consumers will buy. If we focus on that, we will now have very good varieties that would be have a comparative advantage.
I remember last year there was this thing about livestock feed. The price had doubled
Yes.
in the market. Was it due to the border closure? And what's the status now?
It wasn't about border closure, really. People just, there was misinformation. It was not about border closure. I recall August 7th, we had an event, and we predicted that the price of maize will actually be 145 naira per kilo, or 145,000 per ton.
Yeah.
That was in March. So the lockdown just increased it to 165. But guess what? When government announced that there was going to be a ban or restriction on importation of maize, that just gave it a little artificial. You know, they announced in May, we predicted in March. So that even restriction in maize didn't affect it. There was not sufficient rain and floods happened the year before. Okay. On the U.S. embassy, at the U.S. government portal, there was already prediction for extra 100,000 metric tons. So the ban didn't have
the border closure had
border closure had nothing to do with it.
Okay. Now let's look at some of the core issues here. We just talked about what's happening in the foreign exchange market, and we know that a week before the new year, the president met with its Economic Advisory Council and still reiterated his directive to the central bank not to grant foreign exchange to importers of food items and, of course, fertilizer.
Yeah.
We know inflation rate currently 15%, food inflation, 18%. Yes, you talked about flood, and of course we have the insecurity issues, and then having this ban in importation, and then we have this FX issue. Looking at 2021, where does that leave us in terms of food security?
We're not food secure, and we're not likely to be food secure in 2021 if we still go along these lines. So government is putting money in. Government, and I always say this, we have more resources from government's rich players in the last 4 or 5 years than before. That is a fact, and I stand to be corrected. I'm a grassroots player. However, we're not having efficient operations. So the funds come in a bit delayed. You know, by right now, with the rain that fell yesterday, the beautiful thing is that we have data to work with. Recession 2009, the climate and the operations in 2009 is going to repeat itself this year. So what that means is that last year's prediction of, we're not going to have enough food and the rain that fell yesterday and day before almost across Southwest and South changed the dynamics. So we're going to have it easy, but we need efficient operations. We need the river basins to be funded, the farmers around river basins. We need more publicity. National Agency, Orientation Agency needs to kick in. Ministry of Agriculture, we need more information dissemination. We need capacity development. So, but we need government also to have a very robust monitoring and evaluation. I stand to be corrected, but the president is not getting the right information. This year, if they don't want a food crisis, we need to get new teams advising the president. Because
how far did the farmer credit thing go?
Now, you see, yesterday on our radio program, somebody called in to say that, hey, I got the AgSmith, which is the loan for the small and medium. I said, I don't know anybody. I applied on NISO platform. I got it. I also got the COVID support. I applied and I got, so it's okay, fine. One of the things that needs to happen is we need to bring you to teach others how to apply. These things are real. It's going out. But many people, the application process for many is faulty.
At least they're beneficiaries.
So they're beneficiaries. But we just need the scale. These are intervention and incentives. So it needs to be more flexible. We need it to get down, and we need CBN to be more proactive. And they're doing a lot. But we need them to ensure that when the money needs to come out, it
Yeah.
comes out, especially to the right people.
Yeah.
It's not a year to start with new people. It's a year to scale and support the people in the sector
Exactly.
and push new people into the value chain.
Of course, the EFCFTA just kicked off January 1. So how will the players in the agri sector be part of these benefits from this?
Well, it's not a comparative advantage yet. It's a potential opportunity that we have. Are we going to harness it? We don't have the structures. So Ghana still has better operations with most of the agricultural products. In fact, West Africa still has more infrastructure to leverage more than us. But I'm very optimistic because we're Nigerians first. Our mind is our greatest asset,
Right.
and we can adapt. So if we have the right players, the right advisors to the president, we cannot change policies and change it again this year. We need it stable, so the presidency needs to change the people advising them currently.
Thank you very much, Mr. African Farmer.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, and Happy New Year once again.
Same to you. Thank you for
Happy
having
New
me.
Year.
Thank you.
And commodities market update is next. Just stay with us.
Stay with us.